I will move my lecture between two new teachers, which are very old, but not known. Thank God they are all saints. One is Saint Francis, and one is a blessed one. One blessed, which is an economist, a teacher in the university, blessed Giuseppe Toniolo, Saint Francis and Giuseppe Toniolo. So I put myself in a discussion two saints, Saint Francis and Blessed Toniolo. And I speak, as you know, the title was as president of the foundation of the Economy of Francesco, movement wanted by Pope Francis to the economy, starting from young people. When Pope Francis welcomed me with Professor Bruni for this adventure, he said, I know that there are so many important economists who will, in a way or another, hear my word and they will say, you are right. But I know that after this war, they will continue the same way. I want to invest on young people. And so we started this adventure of economy of Francis. But not to be too long, I prefer reading my papers, so that, but I will comment also some statements so that I will not be too heavy for you. But I try to read and also to speak in a very free way. Okay, to understand what happened with the economy of Francis, my paper is the contribution to the economy of Francis. We must remember, and as economists here, as people who work in this area, what I'm starting to say is very, very evident, but we must remember to understand what was really the intention of the Pope. Why Pope Francis wanted inaugurate this new movement for restarting the economy. Well, we know that the economy lives a period of great transition in facts and in theories. In facts, it's evident that looking at the world we have under our eyes, only a blind could not see that there are problems. We can observe that following the chronicles of the situation in this starting of our millennium, as we have some severe expression of crisis, we must say that we have multiple crises. The first one we remember is the financial crisis when we had in 2007 with the problems of the crisis of the financial systems, starting from the failure of the bank in the United States, but it was something that affects all the economy. And so we had the real impression of what can be a financial system or a financial economy that is not anchored in the real economy. And when there is an economy only of currencies that multiply themselves, and the real economy is separated from this, that is the problem. We have this situation that remember other financial crises, but was a crisis at the starting of our millennium. And we have also the consequences of this. Midas, for instance, this is a territory with many expressions of tourism economy, but only in Assisi. The other area of the crisis had some industries, very big industries, and I saw at least 2,000 people and 2,000 families losing their work. And you can imagine what this means for real people, for real person, not for person, real persons, for real persons. I had to help them, I had to make manifestations, practically without a result. And some areas of my classes are still in this crisis, starting from that crisis of a bank in America. The world now has become a later world. Everything is global. Well, after this crisis, we had pandemics. And pandemic revealed how the world is in a global danger. If a little virus, which is not immediately focused and combated and fought, can put all the world in a great problem. The healthy countries, and of course, more the poor countries. So pandemic is in some sense a revelation of what is economy now and what's the world for today. It's not only of this last years, something that we had already a conscience, the problem of climate change. And what we see every time that there is a conference, an international conference, we see some manifestations, especially of young people, and we see the absolutely no results, at least no effective result of these conferences, because the world has become complex, and there are many perspectives on this item, and so we are going more and more towards big problems that affect also the area which are so beautiful, like our Italy. I come from Naples, from south of Italy, and I used to say, we Naples have a good climate. Now, I'm coming from Milan, in Naples, in Sicily, here, practically the same, not the same climate, but the same problems. When we not expect there is a bond of water making damage everywhere, and we know that this comes from the climate change, and we know also that climate change is also an effect of a bad economy. So we must take conscience of this. And what was already known, and Professor Toniolo told us some figures and some digits of this. What we already know, but now it's evident that there's another problem of the wealth of the world, which is more and more concentrated, not in few hands, in few fingers. Fingers. And the majority of humanity has problem. Some economists used to say, and I read some recently something like that, but it's not convincing, that also for the poor, the economy is making progress. At least in the sense of despair, in the sense of inequality. We have an humanity where some few people have everything, and more people have less and less, and this is not something that can make us happy and joyful. Well, at the end, just to say at the end, but last but not least, the wars, not only, as you know, the wars that we see every day in our television screens, but also the hidden wars. There are more than 50 wars in the world, with so many people killed, so many rebels, and everything worse. But it's not only a phenomenon of sentiments or feelings or cultures, ethnic or religious. It's also an economic problem. It's evident, for me it's evident, I don't know if you saw also for you, that we have so many wars because we have so many arms. I'm welcome here almost every year a Congress, my bishop residence, the sanctuary sleeping of St. Francis, on the nuclear arms, the nuclear weapons. And I've been told that there are in the world 17,000 nuclear workers. And every one of these is capable to kill in a second 1 million of persons. 1 million persons. The bomb of Hiroshima was able to kill 100,000 people. The new generation bombs are capable to kill 1 billion of persons. Is something that we can't accept. What human rights we can speak about if we are in this situation, and the industries of arms flourish. Somebody thinks that in this way we have economy. In this way we don't have economy, and we damage economy, we destroy economy. And here I'd like to speak of the world economy. Professor, remember that as the second word of nomos, which is law, but the first one is oikos, and oikos means house, means home. So Waterloo, where we have 17,000 nuclear warheads already ready to be to explode, to be launched and to destroy million and million persons. So this is the situation where Pope Francis, and every one of us knows how was really sensitive, or very sensitive, the situation of the poor of the world. It took the name of Saint Francis because of this. And we know how he was always looking at the situation of the poor country. And he said in 2019, he called Professor Bruni, called me. Really, I must say, clear, also informed, that the first thing that was given by Professor Bruni to Pope, then Pope called me and him. So Professor Bruni has had this idea to invest on youth, and Pope Francis accepted immediately this proposal, and made in the first May 1st of 2019 a splendid message. You can read in English, a splendid message calling on all the young economists, young entrepreneurs, and young change makers of the world to reflect and to make a community and to sign a pact for the renewal of the economy of this world as an immediate challenge we must face. And so this is to say that the background is, I think it's my duty for this paper, this title, so my joy to can give you something more to understand what this movement is. You don't see until now this movement with excessively loud voice, but this depends only on the fact that we work in internet. There are no many expressions of this in television or on newspapers. So normal, the normal people doesn't know much of this movement. But I think you are people like young people today who in internet can find everything. So if you write the Economy of Francis, you will see everything has been made in last years, and also everything is in progress, and everything is also already planned. For instance, we have another Congress in Rome next November, and we will have in May of next year here an academic Congress on themes now reflecting on the doctrine. And these are the initiatives for the education for formation. And the professor said that without formation it's impossible to be free, but without formation it's possible to be also a good economist. And what is my experience? I'm not an economist, this is to say, but I studied political sciences, so had a formation which entails also economy in some way. I studied doctrine of the social doctrine of the church and taught it in the University of Naples. And I am very fond of an economist about whom I will speak also to you, Toniolo. So something about economy am I able to speak, at least to confront me with economists and in some way to change challenge also economists to think and to speak in a very more penetrating way. Well, this is for the subtraction. Well, Pope Francis wanted this, and in 2022, September, 24th of September, almost 1,000 young people representing all the world community of EOF, the Economy of Francis, came here in Assisi, and this pact was signed. I know if you have possibility to look at these 12 points of pact. Did you? Maybe. If you didn't, it's the good occasion to have an idea of what the Pope and the young people of Conference sign. Look also in the very inspiration way they speak, because I can confirm that the text was elaborated by the young people, then Pope, but also of course he spent on the text, and what was signed here in Assisi remains a program, and also text as such is planted, so to say, in a very inspired location in Santa Maria degli Aci, which is the garden of Francis, and we put this text planted there, inviting, of course, the people, the young people coming here for Economy of Francis to go there and see how this seed flourishes more and more. So in a symbolic way. This is what we are speaking about. Well, I read for you this text. You can follow me if you have also internet in your hands. We young economists, entrepreneurs, and change makers called here to Assisi from every part of the world. Every part of the world. We have people coming from Asia, from Australia, from really every part of the world, aware of the responsibility, that rests on our generation. For me, splendid, beautiful. This expression of awareness, expression of conscience of young people. Commit ourselves, and impegno, say in Italian, commit ourselves today, individually and all collectively as community. So something that we have in future, we hope, a real strong effect, strong impact on the real economy. To spending our life. So it's a moral commitment, so that the economy of today and tomorrow becomes an economy of the gospel. And therefore, let me invest pause just a moment on this word gospel. You know, is the English word for Vangelo, for the Greek word evangelion. When we see economy of the gospel, we say the gospel that comes from a good news, from a beautiful news. For us as Christians, the good news is that God is not far away from us. God is incarnated himself and walks with us So when we say economy of gospel, we don't say only economy of a religion, confession. We say something that pertains to our vision of God and of man. Economy of the gospel. Therefore, an economy of peace and not of war. This is the first commitment, the first engagement. At that time, there were many wars in the world, but not the latest one. They say an economy of peace and not of war. First one. And second one, and they wanted to stress this, to underscore this, because they say, everyone speaks of peace. Also, people making war want peace. And they added the second statement for their engagement, an economy that opposes the proliferation of arms, especially the most destructive. So it's a precise commitment against not only the wars in general, not only for peace in general, but against the proliferation of arms, especially the most destructive. Something that's very, very precise, it's not vague. Well, third statement or commitment, an economy that takes care for creation and does not misuse it. Creation is an important word. We used to speak of nature, as Christians we speak of creation, and this is something more, so to say, because it's a responsibility before the one, the Creator, who made creation. And so creation is not something that everybody can say, this is mine. According to the spirituality of Francis, after the gospel, we are not owner of anything. And this is clearly demonstrated by the fact that with that, we don't bring with us anything. We come to the world without anything. We go away without it. We are not really owner of anything. We are only administrators and steward of the creation. And so in this sentence, you must see what we as Christian, but also as a Christian economist fear, that everything is a gift. It's a gift. So you can have also a great wealth, but it's a gift. It's not yours. But I made this man work. Well, of course, I understand this, but what you received is a gift. And this gift you must share. And a culture of gift, a culture. We must share. We are sharing all this. It's not mine, it's not yours. Not only because it's in the public area, but because everything we have comes from another one who made this and gave this as a gift for us. Well, this is the third statement. An economy at the service of the human person, at the service of human person. And the family and life. Human person, family, and life. Human person, we are all human person. We cannot renounce to be human person. But unfortunately, in our culture, we can renounce to live in a family, to be a family, and this is not only conjugal family, but also a spiritual family. And we used to say here in Assisi that we are brothers and sisters, the fraternity. Also, the French Revolution used this word, but at the end, we know which fraternity this text has been able to shape. We are brothers and sisters, so we are for the family and for life, for the next generation. If you have a drop of birth rates so severe as in Italy, also in this splendid region of Umbria, an incredible drop of birth rate. But what future will we have? There is no future without life. Well, an economy where care replaces affection and indifference. These are words very dear to Pope Francis. You remember he used to speak of the culture of the scarto, la cultura dello scarto, rejection, waste. People who are condemned to waste. Impossible to accept. Right? It's against all the human rights, all human dignity. It's impossible. We are all equal, and we are all in the Christian mission. We are sons of God. We have something divine in us, and this is for every man, for every woman, with no other dimension. An economy that leaves no one behind. There is no one behind. You know, as economists, that there is the theory of the gocciolamento, the dropping. As we must grow, and some drops will reach also other poor people. This is not our way to look at economy. Here in Assisi, we understand that the poor must be put at the center. If you say very right, that every person is a center, we must say that the poor person at the center of the center must, the most poor. This is human. What you feel in a family where there is some handicapped son, disabled, all the family put themselves around the most poor, because where there is a great need, there we must put the greatest resources of affection, of care, of money. This should be something that comes from our conscience. But it's not so. The cultura dello scarto, the culture of waste, is increasingly growing in the world. Well, not some going to be an exception. And the young economists signed this before, in order to build a society in which the stones rejected by the dominant mentality become cornerstone. Cornerstone. This is something. This is a revolution. The revolution of love, not of weapons, not of blood. The revolution of love. And the stone rejected become cornerstone of our building as society, of our work as common good. Well, an economy that recognizes and protects secure and dignified work for everyone. That is all work. What kind of work? Sometimes I hear the results or the politics of also in our nation said the economy is growing, but at which cost for everyone? This also must be focused. What is the situation of this man, of this woman in this corporation, in this industry, in this? We must look at the real situation of each man and of each woman. So, an economy that recognizes and protects secure and dignified work, say the dignitos, dignified for everyone. Well, another statement comes that's so important, and I will say also about the thought of Giuseppe Toniolo was one of his fixed ideas. An economy where finance is a friend and ally of the real economy and of labor, and not against them. And we already say this, and I'm going to say, an economy where the financial economy and profit is against the real economy, and anyway separated from the economy, goes for its own way. And this for the profit of a small group of persons, and when this falls down, all the economy, also the real economy, comes in great problems. Well, an economy that values and safeguards the cultures and traditions of people, of living things, and the natural resources of the earth. Human rights, I don't know if from the philosophical point of view, we can speak also of right of the earth. But the right comes anyway on stage, because everything, as we say, is a gift, and everything is worth to be safeguarded. And so it's interesting that the young people want to sign this statement, putting together not only human persons, but also animals, also all of the gift of the earth. It's important. Then another statement: an economy that fights as a struggle, fights misery in all its forms. And there is a cultural misery, there is a spiritual misery. It's not only economic misery. Fights misery in all its forms, reduces inequality, and knows how to say with Jesus and Francis, blessed are the poor. Poverty and misery are not the same. The poverty, according to gospel and according to Francis' spirituality, can be also a very important value. And what he said in my bishop residency, if you are here some days, I encourage you to visit what we are doing in my home, so to say, when we rediscover the very place where Francis stripped of his garments and before his father, Pietro di Bernardone, wanted to make him happy with money. He said, not only I refuse money, but I refuse also my garment to be in situation to be dressed like all the poor people of the world. And he put the destiny of the poor people at the center of our humanity, of our consideration. Is strong, very strong. And so, to fight misery with a spirituality of poverty, where I don't fear, I don't feel proud, I don't put myself on a chair, I fear a brother. So I share my humanity. Well, an economy guided by an ethics and an ethics of the human person and open to transcendence. This term must be studied, because one could say, well, I'm not a Christian, I'm not a believer. Well, if you don't at least open yourself, what is more, what we could say a mystery that involves you, you will have temptation to feel like God. And if you feel a God, you can say, I make everything I want. I can kill you. I'm God. No, you cannot kill me. Why? Because of the commandment of the church. But I don't believe the commandment. No, because as a man, due to your intelligence, due to your conscience, you are structurally open to what is behind you. Behind and behind you. This is transcendence. And we must have a culture open to transcendence, at least in this way. Then we can have different religions, different beliefs. But if you feel a God, Professor Vigliarolo, do I'm God, I can destroy the world. I made it, I destroy it. And this comes, unfortunately, also from some philosophical trends we had in Europe. This Europe has made wonderful things, but also terrible things. And I thought like the Hegel thought, everything, and this has produced the Nazism, has produced communism, and everything worse. So, an economy that creates, this is the last statement, wealth, ricchezza, and richness for all all that engenders joy and not just riches. It's time that those economists are going to interpret it in a more what in Italy say peel, and in English is the GOP, the gross production growth production.
Yes. GDP growth production.
Growth. Well, no, the Italian people in this moment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Easy.
So now also economists are learning to measure this standard not only with material things, but also with spiritual things. If we are not happy, I can have everything and I'm tempted to suicide. I'm not happy. I have everything, but I'm not happy. And sadness is not also something that must regard social economy. For me, it's certain. Well, so these are the statements of the engagement of our young people of economic friends. You see the revolutionary substance of this pact. Please share this, and follow this movement. Also, it's important that also in the university, academic levels, all this can be also received by students. I don't know if the university gave this range of values in their academic schedules. Well, this is what we receive from the Gospel and from Francis of Assisi. But I said to you that there is a blessed which is being forgotten, but must be known again. And we say to you, I don't know if Professor Zamani is connected with us.
Yes, in the afternoon.
In the afternoon,
yes.
But I can say that in the forward, he wrote for a book I published on the third concept. Toniolo is saying that this economist, Italian economist, has been forgotten and put marginalized because he was an anticipator. He looked far away, and now his time has come. If we want to say economy, economics, and our humanity. Well, I'll say just something about his thought. It's very, very important because what Francis says to us is something inspirational, it's prophetic. But what Toniolo says to us is something scientific. Unfortunately, until now, a book on his thought is not translated into English, but exactly yesterday, the book of mine on his thought, who explains his economic thought from zero to the end, is translated into English. It's been published in the United States. So also, if you don't know Italian, you read Italian, you could have an idea. But I have here my collaborators to hear some of my texts in Italian. Fortunately, not the English one, because exactly yesterday or today is in the bookshops of America, and so you can have it in internet, something like that. Well, one could say, of course, but so that if I don't want to bring you also the afternoon. One could say a lot of things about this system. I would renounce taking this path. I would like to say how Toniolo looks at the very foundations of the economy and economics, considering this last as something that cannot be resolved in attitudes without a reference to the structure of the human being. Let me pause a little bit. I read all the statements of young people. Wonderful. Well, there are all attitudes. We want this economy. We want to safeguard the poor. We want, but there is a principle of the classical scholastic philosophy that is operari sequitur esse. What is operational is a following of the structure. I can speak, so I want to speak. I am making a paper, a lecture for you. Well, but this comes from the fact that I have a structure capable of making this. So the operation side follows the structure. Toniolo was concerned about this. We live in a world where the structures are not more evident. And so the problem of the economy and economics is an anthropological problem. We must agree on what the human person is. If we want to respect the human rights, we must agree on what human person is. So the structure must be again considered to understand and also to share what is important for new attitudes against the poor, against the climate, towards the climate, and everything we have just said. Without this conversion to the structure, we can't convert in our functions, structure and function. The function are anchored in structure. And so all these treatises of social economy, he wrote a treatise now in 4 or 5 volumes. The first volume is only a volume on structure. If we don't agree on anthropological structure, we won't agree on what are the so-called laws of economy, and we don't agree in economic attitudes. And this is already the first thing he teaches to us. And I hope that also the young people of Economy of Francis who are full of enthusiasm and full of good attitudes, and they made a real wonderful community in the world, have also the will of studying. Toniolo was professor of political economy at the University of Pisa. And we count on young people who not only have good sentiments, good feelings, and good attitudes, but also will of study. If we don't study, we won't go far away. Well, in his first lesson at university, we speak of 1873. 1873 was almost 20 years before the famous Rerum of Pope Leo XIII. In 1873, he gave the first lesson in university, in public lesson, with this title: Ethics as an intrinsic factor of economical laws. And this was something very new, because nobody put in doubt that ethics has something to do also with economy and economics. But they used to say at that time, okay, but economy is something that surrounds ethics, something that surrounds economics. We make all that's important according to the laws of economy, and then comes a moment when we have some commandment. For instance, you don't kill, you must not kill. And so the conscience and the ethics are not an intrinsic part of the economic discernment and judgment. You know, say, no, my friends, it's not so. Because the ethics is something that is so intrinsic, interior to the human conscience and to the structure of man, that we find it everywhere, in every other scientific judgment. If I am studying something like the nuclear forces, of course I can study. But when I make a judgment how to use all this, I can say, this is something that's technological. No, in the moment I make this discernment, I must say this is something that pertains also to ethical points of view. It's in principle. I can distinguish, of course, I can distinguish everything, but not separate. Distinction is something. Separation is some other. And we can separate because we are a unity. Now we are again considering the human person and also the whole of the world in a holistic way, as we used to say, holistic way, because we are all connected and everything is connected. And so also in our structure, I can say, in this moment, of course, I can say, this moment I speak as economist, then I speak as a priest. Well, I can distinguish, but do you think that I can forget I'm a bishop when I speak of economy and economics? It's impossible for me. It's impossible for me. We must reflect on this and accept this. We can distinguish, so I can say, well, from the economic point of view, from the moral point of view, I can distinguish. But in the life where everything is connected, all this is intertwined, interchangeable. And this is one of the most important gains of today's reflection on economics and on the limits of the concept of the Homo economicus. Homo economicus, we can say it exists as a distinction, but we cannot use it as a separation. separation. So when we think of the loss of the economic attitude, we must always think that there is a conscience that must make a discernment in what we do. And so, to be short as possible, Toniolo made a great reflection of all this as an overcoming of the concept of the Homo economicus, and also what is important, because he was also a leader in the Catholic world in Italy, and not only in Italy. He made an examination of what we are living in our today's culture of the industrial revolution. At that time was the revolution 2.0. Now we are 4, 5.7, 7.0. Yeah. Everything is so accelerated and speedy that now also the figures are accelerated. Well, at that time, he understood what is the scenario, the landscape we are facing in the human condition, because once put the principle that we must start from structure, and we must see also the structure in the context and in the process. And so what's really happening that we must face if we want to start with a new economy? He said, and I myself used to put his thought in a very simple way, because I come from the church. I was professor of theology in Naples, and so I used to think always and to teach always in a very simple way. As a pastor, I also must do this, because people are not only like you, intellectuals. Well, I used to put it with the image of a triangle of the crisis. This triangle, Toniolo sees the three very severe angles of crisis, which are intertwined, and the background of all our thoughts and all our attitudes. First one is the crisis of the truth. We could say the confused human person. We are more and more confused in our thoughts. We have no more the sense of the truth. At that time, it was at the beginning of this process. It was only a problem of the philosophic groups and intellectual groups, not of the common people. In the common family, there was faith, there was the sense of truth, there was the common sense, il buon senso. But now, at the time for the philosophic areas, and now for everybody. I find the adolescent who had not studied in university, the problem, that who feels like a doctor or like a professor, because he has the capacity to go to the internet and to say everything about something. If you want to know who I am, the Professor Migliarolo that doesn't need to present me. He goes Domenico Sorrentino and Francesco. I know everything about Domenico Sorrentino. And we know if we are also people of chair and way students, that to go in profoundly. It's not so simple that to have some information because we need a synthesis, not a summary, a synthesis of thought. And this comes not from some information we have very light from the internet. And so, first problem we have is the intellectual problem, the truth problem. And can you tell me, if we are not agree on the fact that a truth exists, how can we agree on the fact that also human rights exists? This is the problem. One, first one, then three. Second one, also so important and so impacting. The lonely human person, l'uomo solo, la persona sola, the lonely human person, because we are more and more in a fragmented society. The fragmentation, what Toniolo said, with a very interesting word, atomization. We are all atoms, separate from the other. And we are going more and more to be alone. I see it since I'm 77. Since my first experience as a priest, I used to see people, to meet people in the house that almost were with father, mother, with some sons. In my family, we are 4, and then the grandfather, grandmothers, the uncles, and also the people close who were a little community. Now I find in the house, in the homes, so many people alone, either because they have decided to be single, this is a choice. This is also to choice to be alone and for the rest of time, rest of their life, or because they have lost a husband, a wife. And if we are a people taking care of us when we are old, this is the grace of God. And we as Christians, we see many situations where people suffer from loneliness. So the fragmentation has fragmented also family, the nucleus of society, and makes us more and more alone. Well, this is a great problem, not only because it brings suffering, but also because the lonely man is one before great powers, the state, the financial system, the media system, and all the global forces that organize themselves, and men and women becomes more and more lonely to be in relation with all this system. And so when you are alone, the problem is says the unity makes forces, and disunion makes weakness. So one before and against the whole, and this is another problem. That great problem is on the ethical level, because when we are confused with the human person in our thoughts, when we are atomized this way, that we are lonely people, what is the temptation we have? To be individualist. I must think on me. I am alone. So this is my interest, it's my problem. I don't care of your situation is your problem. And so we become more and more individualistic. Self-relationship. I think of myself, you are not an interest for me. This is tragic. It's tragic. And humanity, when you are not something important for me, it's a humanity where everything can happen. Everything worse. We must. Toniolo had looked really forward, really far away. And so, well, I could speak for hours about his thought. I only would like to encourage you to inform you about the thought of this important economist who has been totally forgotten. You won't find him in the histories of economy. Maybe sometimes, but from now on, I hope that Professor Migliarolo, when he say that there are great names of economics, say not only names recognized, but also the names that are in our future. And this one, I think, when you have read my book, you'll be convinced of this. And also for your academic chair. Well, I go to my conclusion, but saying in my conclusion was the most important of this quote. The principles that Toniolo takes from this vision, and I put it in with, of course, analogically, with the famous concept of the ottimo Paretian, best, optimum. Well, what is the optimum according to Toniolo when we look at the economy and economics? I did for you also that I will not be so long, but not long. First principle of the optimum, of Toniolo optimum, an economy that is technically efficient is in integral good health. I use this concept, di buona salute integrale, integral good health, to the extent that the human person understood not only in the multiple dimensions of this individual being, but also in its complex relationship with other human beings, with environment, material, animal, with transcendent, like God, for believers, for all eternity mystery, in which existence is wrapped, close bracket, is placed, so this human person is placed at the center of evaluation and choices, being respected and promoted, the human rights, respected and promoted as a point of gravity of the factors cooperating with economic processes, work, nature, capital, the classical elements of the economic process, human person at the center, respected and promoted. Second principle of solidarity coordination. Solidarity. An economy that is technically efficient is in integral good health to the extent that it develops within a social institutional framework characterized by a fair proportion and a correct relationship between human groups linked to healthy bonds, to distinct from immoral ones and criminals, because there are people who gather themselves for mafia, and this would be not a good way to gather. So, loose bracket. All the links, natural or voluntary, so that society is respected as it is, as a structural whole, bracket, moral organism, with its internal functions and responsibilities, and the primacy is recognized to civil society, we speak of civil economy, to civil society over political society, like a state. The latter operating state by way of a subsidiarity and solidarity in view of a common good to descend by lifting the weakest members from the bottom of the economic social ladder to the center of attention and promotion. You hear the correlation with Francis and Francis. A third and last principle, the principle of ethical correlation. A society that is technically efficient is in integral good health to the extent that the individual and collective behaviors of economic actors are guided by precise ethical rules shared as they correspond to the very nature of human person and of society, and therefore recognized as regulations not on the basis of a subjective, arbitrary, and precarious perception, but on the basis of the objective dependence of the world being on God, recognized by right reason as the God of creation. So I think it's very important because ethics can be only an issue of our volunteer. We want to be this. Because if I say only I want to be this, tomorrow I will say I want to be otherwise. The moral, the ethics is anchored in the structure of our being. So I must say, I want because I must do this. I must be so. I must be a brother. I must love you. Not only I want to love you. If I said, well, love you tomorrow morning, I don't love you anymore. It depends on what I decide. Morality, ethics comes from something that pertains to our structure. Well, I don't need any more words to link also the two perspectives, the perspective of Saint Francis, prophetic one, and the perspective of Blessed Toniolo, the scientific one. To I don't want to say this will be for me to proud to convince you. But I don't have to convince anybody, but I want to propose you to inform you at least on these two sides of our assisting medal for the renewal of economy, and I hope that I didn't bore you too much. I mean, I am too heavy for you with my best wishes that our Congress will be a very important congress, and also ours here in Assisi will make you breathe this atmosphere. This is a very good atmosphere. So best wishes for your stay here in Assisi.
Grazie tantissimo, Vescovo. English. Thank you so much. Really interesting richness. Really, I think that we are still thinking what you say, because there are things that they have to glue inside us, and this is important. This is important because here we are meeting that we hope to go back richer than we can follow. Richer, and what to say? I'd like to listen to some one of you. What do you think? Some question, some more question, some comment. Today we need to build another economy, because all we build another economy, or we are going to die. We are going to destruction our humanity. We are going to destruction our nature, our creation. This is important to understand, to be awareness on this matter, on this kind of thing, because we need to change, we need to cambio de rumbo, come si dice, we need to change the orientation, the direction of our work. And if we don't understand that, we have to work together. We have to work with the last people that are in the emerging, that people that are the West people, our friends define. We need to come to change the culture, but if we don't change the heart, we don't change the culture. If we don't change the tension, the way how we look at the world, that is not our private world. We are in the world together, other people, and today two billion of people live without any rights. This is the reason, because we need to build another economy founded the stone on human rights, and now the mission of Crusade on the poorest, on the last people that have nothing. One thing, I'd like to listen from India, Professor Patrick. Can you make a comment? What do you think about? I'd like to come here, please, because we need to come here. I'd like to listen to your comment about this interpretation.
Yeah. It is very good, and fundamentally what is happening about the global economy and how it is reaching to the poorest of the poor, and how it will be benefited to the poorest. It is being understood, and the same thing is being practiced in the countries like India and other. Where there is a democratic government, they are also realizing these fundamental rights through voting power. So the government is coming from after the voting of the population, and each poor fellow is having its ticket. unless the government is doing something for them, they will not give the vote to the government. So that is the most powerful weapon in different, say, democratic setup. And through that, whatever, say, I'm talking with regard to the Indian system, we have, say, free food, minimum food each month. The center, the poorest of the poor, who doesn't have a roof to stay in, the government is giving, say, $1,000 to construct a house. The education is free in the vernacular systems, and there are different systems. Each person has to get the work from the government. If there is no project of that area, say for example, either irrigation or road or some kind of developmental work, then the government has to pay certain money to the poorest of them. So through that, over say 75 years after the independence, the India is say one of the poorest country, then underdeveloped. Now we are pushing towards say developed country. We are at the fourth or fifth position in the say economic GDP level, but lots of schemes are there. Now coming to whatever professor has told, that we have to look at the poorest in our society. So the government is giving some fund that you do something. So we call them self-help group. So no need to monitor by the government. They have to monitor through themselves. Say 5 people, 10 people, 15 people, or 20 people, you come forward. Whatever you want to do in a small home business, like making candle, making sticks, making some kind of, say, local products, handicraft, and the government will fund. And if you are repaying to the bank, automatically more and more fund will be given to you. And India is a very, very vast country. As in today, we are the most populous country in the world. We have surpassed China last year. So unless the proper mechanism will not be implemented at the grassroots level, then it will be chaotic. Because you must have heard in our list of richest people, India has also 2 to 3 richest people in the world. And the poorest of the poor are there also in the country. So if the government will not look after to the poorest of the poor, then there will be chaotic situation and there will be crime, murder, and other things. Yesterday, we are talking about Indian value system, Indian knowledge system in Rome 3 University. We are delivering a talk on that. Now, while mentioning about Indian systems, I was mentioning that in India also, whenever, say, we are catering to the society, the government is now thinking about the age-old tradition. So whatever the economics we are talking about today, in India, we have Arthashastra before Christ, say 400-500 BC, and it is written in the document. During that time also, the statesman or the king, they are looking at the poorest of the poor. So if the society is not taken care, then the chaotic situation will be there. And it is still continuing, say, as in today. Of course, we are being say, ruled by, say, Muslims for 400 years, by Britishers 200 years. Therefore, when, say, development, prior to that, India was #1 in economics. Of course, during that time, the boundary of India was starting from, say, Afghanistan, and it was end with China. It was a very vast country. But out of that vast India, there are so many countries have come up, say Pakistan, Afghanistan, Laos, Indonesia, Malaysia. So all the things were there and the same name India. So however, the economy was down during 1900, and now gradually over the last 75 years, through many schemes, whenever we are talking about, say, the down economically very poor section, many schemes are there. Tomorrow afternoon, I have the talk on different schemes the government is implementing. And thank you for say highlighting the fundamental principles of, say, economics and human rights.
Thank you.
And I must tell that I must thank Professor Francesco because he has inducted me one of the adjunct here. And in India, we have arranged a talk series, each month one talk on this economics and human rights. And all the talks are available in YouTube. And also, there is another dimension, the future, how the economy is going. Now, in every country, AI has entered, artificial intelligence. So it will again a boomerang on the economies and human beings. Because each country, it is not controlled by the country statesman. The big businessman like from US, Bill Gates, Tesla Motors, they are now coming and they are pushing the government. Government is bound to implement artificial intelligence. So whenever the artificial intelligence in the governance, in the business, in everywhere, they are now retrenching people. So in the morning session also someone was telling that 2,000 people, probably professor was mentioning. The same thing has happened, is now started happening. So how to do that? So I joined hand with Professor Francesco and started an international journal called Artificial Intelligence Governance and Human Rights. And also we are putting a conference, the leaflet is there at the counter. So we are bringing out a book on AI and human rights. So these are the things I am trying to do with the help of Professor Francesco. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Prego. Sì, vai. Grazie.
First of all, I'd like to thank Francesco Villagrano for this event. It was really would be important to also to look something different with respect to the comfort zone that the economists are usually to stay. I really enjoyed the speech of Domenico Sorrentino. I know very well. I also know his book on Toniolo. And maybe I can ask something from an historical point of view, because you mentioned St. Francis, then St. Toniolo, and also today there are a lot of saints, so Carlo Acutis, for example. So from an historical point of view, I would suggest to you, maybe for the next speech, but you mentioned many of these points, to consider the three words of the French Revolution that we all know very well. So freedom, equality, and fraternity. How these three topics, how these three values evolved over history. Also in a very long perspective, so starting from the medieval age till today. Because as also you mentioned, freedom is not just positive freedom, but it's also negative freedom. So include also education, health, and other welfare systems. So if we take to the medieval age, freedom was not so much, it was not so evolved. Just few people studied, were educated. So this is the point. While in the medieval age, fraternity was an important value. So I just like to ask to Domenico Sorrentino to have something. Why today is not just in these years, but in the last maybe 2 centuries. So Toniolo understand very well this point. Why fraternity is not so important value. There is also, you mentioned a lack of fraternity in our lives. And what kind of role we can have also as academics, as persons, as in the church, for helping young people in considering fraternity convenient. Convenient not economically or from a monetary point of view, but for their lives.
Relatively was and well appreciated by Toniolo because he linked them to the Christian culture. But it was very critical towards the French Revolution because French Revolution came through the enlightenment moment, which separate himself from the Christian culture more and more, starting from Renaissance. At the beginning, the Renaissance movement, the humanism, was a Christian movement. There were also humanistic popes, and Francis can be like Dante, like Boccaccio, like Petrarca, be considered also humanist. But at a certain moment, there were two ways: the Christian ways and the Illuminist way, the positive way, that brought to consider these three words in a way that is not acceptable from the Christian point of view, and I think from the human point of view. It's enough to remember how much blood was made by the French Revolution in the name of these three words. Were the human right respected at that time? Now we are all sons of the French Revolution, because there were good dimensions, and these dimensions came, I think, in a clear and evident way from the Christian tradition. So liberty, we must be free. No? Equal, we are equal, they must be respected as equal. We are brothers, must be respected as brothers. This comes all from the gospel, not only from the gospel, there is also a wisdom of the ancient culture, the Roman culture. We are here, you see, in a city that has also a previous history with the Christian. It invites you to the mission residence. We are excavating also a domes of the ancient Roman Asís. So also in the best wisdom of the paganism and the other cultural groups and religions, these terms and these values are present, but unfortunately in our culture they put blood of revolution to blood of Nazism, the blood of the communism, and also to a hidden blood of a certain democracy. Because when also democracy is organized in a way that doesn't respect the rights of all, there is no visible blood, but there is substantial blood. Now we are going in a path, I hope, that makes all the culture of the cultures also responsible of a new dialogue in this triangle of the crisis. There is the negative dimensions, but as in every crisis, because the word crisis, you know, comes from the Greek krine, which is not a bad word. A crisis can also develop and bring to a positive result. We are now pulled by these three crises in a part of a new dialogue. And so also with the history we lived, we can say, how can we relive these words in a new way? And so for me, there is an history which, of course, must say what is really the situation also of the Middle Age. You remember that Francis started his conversion with the embrace to the lepers. And so also in this Christian atmosphere, there was something that was against the gospel and against the human rights. So we must accept this and also confess it ourselves with penitence. It was something that was wrong, because we are human beings also when we are religious people and intellectual people. So, well, I hope that now we are in a moment of grace for humanity, notwithstanding what is happening under our eyes. Because exactly what is happening pushed us to a new dialogue and new vision. The Economy of Francesco is something that shows this, demonstrates this. And so I hope that also making a conference like this could be understood and evaluating in this path of a new dialogue. It's also I would like to thank Mr. Signorelli, because she was one of the first one in Italy that accepted a debate on Toniolo book, my Toniolo book, in the Department of Economics of the University of Perugia. And it was something that was really new, and Toniolo taught in a state university, but with a great problem, because it was not accepted, it was on state. University of Perugia, very famous also for the atmosphere, not always Catholic, not always Christian. Now, somebody like Professor Signorelli with great courage hosted this debate. This is the time or times, say, non sei io di te, sometimes Google esperienze in Assisi, labs, sciences, eventi, and brings us to the result.
Grazie.